from the top of Don Mountain, New Zealand. Welcome to the GCN Show.
Just to let you know, I'm going to go up at the end of the GCN Show this week, just to change it up a bit. Whoa. Welcome to the GCN Show. I'll do that again. Welcome to the GCN Show.
Coming up this week, we would like your advice. Just how do we talk about dopers?
We talk coaching by computers and also discuss the latest record attempt by round-the-world legend Mark Beaumont.
And on a more somber note, we also present evidence to suggest that white cycling shorts and top tube bags may be socially acceptable after all.
That's fantastic. Can you dust my white shorts off, Si? They're still there.
Bring them out of the vault. I honestly never thought I'd have to see those again.
Oh, I told you they were socially acceptable 10 years ago. Well, maybe 7.
That's the bit that's not socially acceptable then.
This week, in the world of cycling, we learnt that it costs just $4.76 in electricity to ride an e-bike across the USA. More on that coming up later on.
Yeah, and we also learned this week that cycle coaching is shifting paradigms from art to science as Exert launched the world's first artificially intelligent coaching software. Coaching entirely by computer.
Wow.
Yeah.
This past week, we have also been reminded that cycling has a problem with doping that is not being addressed. And we're not talking about the obvious part of doping, which is people currently cheating, but rather people who have cheated in the past. How do we talk about it? How do we talk about them in the context of the sport?
Yeah, so we've been giving this some thought after a comment left under last week's GCN show by John Farr. He asked, why is it exactly that Lance Armstrong's considered a total fraud, but when talking about Sagan, you guys compare his Tour de France green jerseys to Eric Zabel, who admitted to doping the whole time. He then goes on to ask, so Zabel's doped Tour de France green jerseys are still good, but Lance's doped yellow aren't? I just want to make sure I fully understand the position here.
And you know what, John? That is a very, very good point. But I don't think that anybody really knows the position here. No. We certainly don't. I mean, it's not that we think that Lance cheated any more than Zabel, although there is that distinction that Lance has been stripped of his titles, whilst Zabel hasn't. And let's be honest and frank here, that does make us hypocritical.
It does, doesn't it? But then, it's not just us either. I mean, the ASO are the ones that have made the distinction between Lance Armstrong and Eric Zabel. And the UCI, of course, aren't being all that much help in this instance either.
No, that's very true, because David Lappartient, the recently elected UCI president, has strongly expressed his disapproval last week of the attendance of Lance Armstrong at the Tour of Flanders this year as a guest of honour. Now, if that was because Lance never got a particularly good result at the Tour of Flanders, that would be one thing. But it's not, is it? It's because Lance Armstrong is the world's most notorious drugs cheat.
Yeah. Now, Killian Kelly makes a very good point on Twitter, actually, in response to the announcement that UCI had fired those warning shots at Lance. He says, well, meanwhile, Vinokourov creates fun content with his World Tour team and is free to go wherever he pleases. Spare us the hypocrisy, David.
Yeah, that is another very good point. And it's not just Vinokourov either, is it? There are countless former riders with a far from perfect past who are still involved in the professional sport of cycling. From general managers through to sports directors, through to commentators, the list really does go on and on. And then you've got Alejandro Valverde, who is still racing and winning at World Tour. And we were freely talking about him just 1 week ago.
In glowing terms. But then on the other hand, you've got riders that did exactly the same thing as Valverde, like Oscar Sevilla or Francisco Mancebo, and they can't get contracts at the World Tour level, can they?
No,
so
true.
It's a bit of a minefield.
It is. So what do we do? I mean, literally, what do we do? Do we just accept that some riders, or many riders, have cheated in the past, but after they've served their bans, they deserve a place back in the sport, and therefore welcome Lance Armstrong back, because, after all, he does sometimes say some interesting things. And probably didn't do anything any worse than the other self-confessed cheats, or perhaps even a few people who are remaining silent.
That's right. It does feel like at the moment that we're in this position where we kind of categorise dopers, don't we? As in we collectively. So you've got dopers that you can acceptably talk about because they were nice, and then dopers that you can't talk about because they weren't, and then you've got dopers that have got pots of money behind them and we can't talk about them, but then we've also got dopers that we've never heard of, so paradoxically we can talk about them. And then we've got dopers from certain countries and they must be bad because they come from that country.
Well, this is obviously a totally rubbish state of affairs, and how on earth even would you begin to quantify and therefore categorise naughty versus nice, for example. It just would never ever work. And I think this just again goes to highlight the situation that we're in.
Yeah, well, not just us, sport, all sport, in fact. So this is where we would like your advice. So you can get involved in the comment section down below, obviously. But then also, we've got a handy voting structure up there. So you've got 3 choices. Do you think that cycling should have a clean slate? So we basically write all known dopers out of history and just say, that was cycling's past, doesn't exist. Do we forgive everyone from cycling's history and just say, well, that was part of the sport back then, even though it sucked, but you can't change history? Or do we have option C, where we kind of carry on with the current status quo, which is that we have good dopers, bad dopers, and we talk at length about them because everyone needs a bad guy and a good guy, don't they? What do you think, Dan?
I don't know. I mean, just going back to what we said before, it's just so hard to decide who you do and don't talk about, which again highlights the predicament that we're all in. I mean, I rightly or wrongly probably do categorise former dopers. I might have a certain David Miller or Jonathan Vaughters in one camp because it does appear they've done a reasonable amount to try and clean up the sport. And then I'd have Riccardo Rico, for example, in a completely different camp because although I don't know him and I don't speak Italian, from what I read, it just seems like a bit of an idiot that we wouldn't really want back in. But again, that's me partitioning without any really valid reason. No,
so I also don't know, but my gut feeling is that there's a financial element to all of this, and it really annoys me when someone cheats and then makes pots of money off the back of it, and then they're not penalised in any way financially by having tested positive or been caught or admitted to doping. But then it really, really gets my goat when people then come back, the second coming, where they then make money off the back of being a kind of self-confessed drugs cheat. Like, you know, Tyler Hamilton or Michael Rasmussen, all these guys that are now held up as kind of being fountains of all knowledge on the subject.
So I will only buy these riders' autobiographies if he finds them in a charity shop so that no money is going into their pockets.
Absolutely, yeah. I got Bjarne Riis the other day. Very interesting book it is too. But yeah, got in there for 99p. Winner. Yeah.
Geeky high five.
It's now time for cycling shorts.
Have you voted yet? Excellent. We can start cycling shorts then with news that Britain's oldest bike has just been discovered in a barn. Yep, the Daily Telegraph reported that the 199-year-old bike was rescued after the building was being demolished, but it is now safely in a museum.
Well, that's good news, isn't it?
Yeah.
Thank goodness for that. This bike is now one of just 12 remaining for the original 300 that were made by Dennis Johnson, who filed his patent for this particular design all the way back in 1818.
You say there's 12 left, Dan, but presumably until this bike was discovered in a barn, there are only 11 left. So we can actually keep our fingers crossed that there are more out there.
Yeah, I think you're probably right, Si, but you're overcomplicating things here.
Maybe.
Sticking with vintage for a moment, though, you will all well remember that last year Mark Beaumont's aim was to ride 29,000 kilometres in under 80 days, a feat which, quite incredibly, he did achieve. Do you want to know what his aim is for 2018, though?
I do, mate, yeah.
40 kilometres.
Well, that doesn't sound terribly hard.
No, but you're going to try and do it in an hour.
Again, like, it's good effort, but not really noteworthy.
On a penny farthing.
Ah.
Yes, that's a little bit harder then, isn't it?
Yeah.
If he does achieve that 40 kilometres, or roughly 24.5 miles, he will once again be writing himself into the Guinness Book of World Records.
A quick bit of Giro d'Italia news now, and the organisers, RCS, have just announced the 4 wildcard teams that will be joining the World Tour teams in Jerusalem in May. Bear in mind, it starts in Israel. The first one, Dan? The Israel Cycling Academy.
Never.
Surprise, surprise. Yeah, then we've got the Willia Triestina Selitalia team. We've got Androni Giocattoli, and then...
Nippo Vini Fantini, I bet.
No, Bardiani CSF.
Really? That is a bit of a surprise, isn't it? Because they had 2 riders who were chucked off the race before the race even started last year.
Yep. So see link to previous story there. Right, moving swiftly on. The international track cycling scene, normally a pretty elitist affair, a reputation pretty much well deserved actually, given how much it costs to get an Olympic gold medal these days with all the R&D and the special skin suits that you probably need.
Secret squirrels.
Exactly. But tradition was turned on its head at the recent Track World Cup round in Minsk.
That's right, an all-amateur British squad that go by the name of Team KGF won the 4-kilometre team pursuit title with a really good time of 3 minutes and 56 seconds. Now I say really good, if you want that put into perspective, that would have in fact won them the gold medal back at the 2008 World Championships.
Yeah, and also one member of that team, Charlie Tanfield, also won the individual pursuit title with a time that was just 1.7 seconds outside the world record set by Jack Bobridge. That's not bad going, is it? Bear in mind, he's only 21. Yeah, that ride garnered some serious respect, not least from Alex Dowsett, who tweeted, "Some serious riding from Charlie Tanfield in Minsk. Serious, serious bike riding." Right, some interesting research was published very recently, actually, in the Journal of Preventative Medicine.
Ooh, I don't look at that one much. Probably once in the last 6 months, I reckon.
Yeah, it's definitely not even top 10 material, is it? Anyway, the Barcelona Institute for Global Health have just released findings that suggest that if cycling provision in Europe was increased, that could prevent 10,000 early deaths per year. Yeah, pretty staggering, isn't it? And their research is based upon analysis of cities that have got a higher rate of cycling versus those with a lower rate of cycling. I think 24% was their cut-off of cycling as percentage of modal transport share.
It's an interesting premise, isn't it? And in fact, if it is correct, it is Londoners who could be benefiting the most. Increasing the number of cyclists on London's road could help to prevent over 1,000 premature deaths.
Wow. Statistics like that, I really hope they get used more when it comes to informing transport policy and helping to get people on bikes. Although, it's not just about transport policy. Hollywood Insider are also doing their bit in their own inimitable way to get people on bikes. I happened to stumble across an article just last week, exclusive tips on finding Mr. Right, and I couldn't help but notice that tip number 3 was that you should look for guy-rich environments, of which they listed cycling clubs as one of them.
Well, that's another interesting premise, isn't it? But I can't imagine that many people find love on your average local chain gang or indeed club ride, although I do admire their commitment.
Yeah, be like speed dating, wouldn't it, when you're going through and off?
Oh, cheers, Dan. You're lovely, you are.
Now, we are always looking for style tips here on GCN. God knows we need all the help we can get. But I particularly was shocked. In fact, shocked to the very core when I stumbled upon this.
Yeah, you were, Si. I was not.
Well, yeah, right.
Because this is the fact now that white shorts are fashionable. Not only are they fashionable, they're also going to set you back the pretty penny of $400.
Well, that's just ridiculous for a start. I mean, you could go on eBay and buy some vintage Cervelo test team shorts in white.
Well, you could have done, but I've raised the price now to $400 in line with this. This comes from a catwalk show recently from the designer Virgil Abloh, he being the founder of Off-White, the company, and no less than Naomi Campbell was seen strutting up and down the catwalk in a pair of white shorts. They are already available and in the shops. They're a slim fit and they've got an off logo down one leg.
Well, Dan, I do like the length, you know, very contemporary, like a nice sort of knee-length short there. Does it say anything about the chamois?
Oh, I'm not sure. Give me a second. I don't think so.
Yeah.
But I do think actually we need to now go a little bit easier on people like Mathieu van der Poel and also Alexander Kristoff who are wearing white shorts.
That is true. And maybe actually Adam Blythe, GCN's unofficial head of fashion, had it right all along with his all-white British National Champs kit.
I have no doubt he did. No. Anyway, if you think that white shorts thing is bag,
I do.
You've never seen what, you'll never guess, shall I say, what Taylor Finney's been spotted using recently. Top tube bag.
We mentioned at the top of the show that it costs just $4.76 to ride an e-bike across the USA. And this is a fact that has been thoroughly tested by ultra-endurance cyclist Max Lipp, who pedalled from New York to Las Vegas using an Electron front wheel to do just that.
Yeah, the ride was done as basically a publicity stunt to draw attention to the new version of this Electron wheel, which apparently gives you an extra 400 watts, albeit limited to 20 miles per hour, and up to 50 miles off a single charge, which is not too bad, is it? Now, since everything is located within the front wheel, it also means that it's very easy to retrofit it to almost any bike.
He covered 2,826 miles on it, arriving just in time for the Consumer Electronics Show. Now, other than the fact that this is just a PR stunt, there could well be a few flaws in the figures quoted, like it doesn't take into account how much pedalling he himself did, given the fact that he is actually an experienced Trans-America cyclist himself. or indeed the fact that you had to change wheels every 50 miles.
Yeah, wheels which were located in a vehicle that was following him.
Yeah.
So by our reckoning, if you decided to go and do this on your own with just the single wheel, it would cost you, well, $4.86 in electricity, but it would also cost you $120.80 in coffee,
yeah,
and $288.06 in burgers, whilst you wait around charging your wheel, which you would need to do about 6 times a day. Not to mention the presumably astronomical costs of accommodation on that ride.
True, although you could go camping, actually. Yeah. So yeah, maybe discount that. Jokes aside though, it does highlight, doesn't it, the quite incredible nature of the latest generation of e-bikes or e-wheels, because 2,826 miles, that's a lot of city riding, that's a lot of commuting.
It is. Right then, what about this Exert coaching software then? This is something that we will delve into in far more detail in due course, but it seems quite incredible. The data analysis of Exert coaching software is something that has very much impressed Si and myself recently, but this seems like an utterly bonkers step forward.
It does, doesn't it? They say that it answers the question of what you should do on any given day. So including training time, training frequency, power targets, minute by minute intervals, and even, and I like this bit very much, Dan, predicting how tired you should be and therefore suggesting when you should have rest days.
Yeah, I hope it predicts I'm tired a lot.
Yeah, you are, you really are.
Yeah, based on their algorithms which analyse power files on a second by second basis, it is able to create a fitness profile of an athlete on any given day. And now they've taken things one step further because they're able to suggest what the best training would be for said athlete.
It's a step into the future, isn't it? I can't wait to give this a go, if I'm completely honest. But I literally can't get my head around the fact that a computer could advise me on what riding is theoretically best for me. I mean, there's a whole load of kind of, well, metaphysical questions here, Dan.
Well, it's my dream from almost my late teens was if I knew exactly what the best training I could do would be, I would do it, absolutely no questions asked. It was always the questions in my head of whether or not the training I was doing that was right that held me back, I think.
Yeah, they do say there are external factors that it obviously can't take into consideration, like, you know, nutrition or sleep or psychological factors. But there's got to be a lot to be said, isn't it, for completely buying into something, knowing that empirically it's the best. That psychologically would do an awful lot of good, wouldn't it?
Mitchelton Scott's Daryl Impey took the biggest win of his career last week at the Tour Down Under. He actually finished on the very same time as Richie Porte, but he was given the win based on his standings and positions throughout the stages. And in fact, it was his consistency that gave him the win because he was second on no less than 3 stages, including kind of the Queen stage, which finishes up Willunga Hill, which incidentally was won for a 5th time in a row by Richie Porte himself.
Yeah, cracking stage that was too. Other stages were won by Caleb Ewan, Peter Sagan, all starting no substitutes, remember, Elia Viviani, and Andre Greipel got 2 actually, so showing the younger riders that he races against now a clean pair of wheels. Obviously, if you want to know more about this, then check out the GCN Racing News Show. Got to say though, Impey's probably thrilled to bits with that, isn't he?
Well, I imagine he will be. He should be too.
Yeah.
Now, one of the big stories from last week's Tour Down Under was the excessive temperatures that the riders were having to deal with, sometimes in excess of 40 degrees Celsius. And it seems as though Lotto Soudal's Adam Hansen was coming in for some heat himself, but not from the weather. Other riders.
Yeah. You'll remember, of course, that Adam Hansen is a CPA delegate, so effectively like the riders' representative of their union. And he said at one stage, he literally had a rider screaming at him because he hadn't suggested that the race be stopped.
It is a little bit unfair to shout at him because given the statement that we've just put up there, Adam, as he states, does things in his own time and at his own expense.
To be fair, he should probably expect it as a rider representative that there are going to be people that are quite animated on both sides there. But anyway, yeah, I kind of take his point. Maybe it'd be better when it's colder. You know, people go introverted in the cold, don't they? And
well, you
quiet,
do. You
sad,
can barely speak when it's cold.
Well, exactly. Yeah, people get really angry when it's hot. Anyway, it was all a fuss about nothing when you put it in the context of the Tour of the Philippines, because the 4th edition has had to be postponed because of, wait for it, imminent volcanic eruption.
Ooh.
Now that is an extreme protocol for
Well,
you.
I think I would be shouting at Adam Hansen if he didn't call the race off through volcanic eruptions.
I might choose to feign a knee injury. Just
Well, that's
stop.
it, isn't it? You've got your own choice to pull out of the race if you think things are too extreme. Right, well, let's get away from things so extreme in terms of temperature and back to the cold, wet and muddy world of cyclocross.
That's never extreme, is it, Dan? Cyclocross?
Not really, no.
No.
The penultimate round of the UCI World Cup took place in France over the weekend. The news there was that Katie Compton absolutely crushed the women's race. She won her first World Cup of the season. That's a big marker, isn't it, with the World Championships in just a couple of weeks' time.
Wouldn't she be a popular winner of the Worlds? Oh my
Oh,
word.
she would be, yeah. She clearly revelled in that on that course, though. She's won there twice before.
Yeah. Well, Sana Kant, meanwhile, the current world champion, was off the pace, finishing in 12th, but that was enough for her to clinch the overall victory of the World Cup. And in the men's event, resplendent in his super fashionable white cycling shorts, Mathieu van der Poel, well, he crushed it as well, didn't he? Taking his 6th World Cup victory of the year, and surprise, surprise, clinching the overall title as well.
The question, I think, is can he continue to keep that incredible form for another 2 weeks on the run-up to the upcoming World Championships? I mean, Wout van Aert, who finished second to him again, would definitely be hoping not. He didn't look that happy on the podium, did he?
He didn't, did he? He also posted this story on Instagram from the week, which looks strangely prophetic now, doesn't it, in hindsight?
Do you mean that Van der Poel is like the tree, kind of stopping Van Aert in his tracks?
Mathieu van der Poel is indeed a tree.
What about this one?
I'd say probably just don't ride in really windy conditions, because it's quite dangerous, evidently.
It's time now for Hack /Bodge of the week, starting this week with Anthony Gorn. Someone in Berlin took your tips about how to avoid a sore ass quite seriously.
3 cushions.
That does look rather comfy.
Yeah, not bad, not bad.
Blue
And a
bike there
yeah,
too.
gold bike. Maybe that's Greg Van Avermaet's spare, actually,
well
when
be.
he's in Berlin. Right, this one, I don't even know what to say about that. Sent in by Roger Watt. That's quite a bit of kit, isn't it?
There's a lot going on there. It kind of reminds me a little bit of the DeLorean bike that we recently featured. Hard to know exactly what's going on there, isn't it? If you know the owner of that bike, get them to write in and tell us how he designed it.
Or if indeed any of it is actually of any help. Or is it just purely aesthetics? In which case it's, well, that's a podge, isn't it, I suppose?
Right, next up then from Cameron Daff. No front wheel, no problem. Now I can kind of see that that is the solution to a problem, but it's kind of a problem that you shouldn't really have in life, isn't it? No front wheel.
Yeah, my question is definitely where on earth is your front wheel? And surely it'd be easier to get hold of another one as opposed to just fashion a wooden block. Yeah. Anyway,
well
still,
done, nonetheless.
Nice bodge there, nice bodge. This one from Most Definitely. This is a mud guard that he's made out of cardboard duct tape and zip ties. I don't want to say it, Dan, but isn't that in the wrong place?
Yes.
I would have, or maybe it's just a bit small.
That might keep some mud off your shins, mightn't it?
Yeah.
You might want to move it up slightly, but yeah, good effort there. Next up,
Still a
we've
bodge though,
got an effort on security here. Someone, PC_head on Instagram, has put a padlock through the chain and through the front derailleur cage. I guess it kind of would stop you pedalling, but since that bike looks pretty lightweight, probably not that hard to carry off with you.
Yeah, maybe he's got really fast mates, and if they only nick one bike at a time, then the rest they could chase after him. But yeah, that's a pretty poor effort.
We have saved though, Si, the best for last this week.
Ooh,
It
God,
is
I
a
haven't
brand
seen
new
this
chain keeper.
Oh, Dan,
Wait.
Come on.
It's a different one, this one.
They're all the same, mate.
They're not.
You
You
can't-
haven't seen it. Check this out. It's made out of a potato. How incredible is that? This comes in from Alex Lewenthal. This is a video shot by his friend Harry Calvin, and that is just remarkable. I never in my life thought I'd see a chain keeper made out of any kind of vegetable.
Never in my life, Dan, did I think I'd see a chain keeper that I wanted, but now I have. I would like a chain keeper made out of spud.
We maybe send you one through. It'd have to be in a fragile jiffy bag, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Anyone know the shelf life of an unpeeled potato, or peeled potato rather?
Maybe if you roast it.
Well, it wouldn't have any kind of structure and integrity, would it? It would just disintegrate.
We might be overthinking this slightly, but it's a chain keeper made out of a potato. That is all you need to know. Absolutely genius.
Yeah.
Right, if you've got any more hacks or bodges that you would like to share with us ready for next week's show, you know the drill. It is hashtag GCN Hack on various forms of social media.
It's time now for Caption Competition. First up, we've got the winners of last week. Now, this was the photo that we gave. You just had to caption it in the comment section and we picked a winner. And actually, we picked two this week.
Have unprecedented 2 winners
right.
of the GCN Camelback water bottle. Winner number 1, Ed Markey, who put caption, Kun, you may want to get your head out of your asp.
Hey!
I like that one.
Genius,
And the second winner is Mark Whitley with caption, I ride for Trek Snake Afredo. Well done to you two. Get in touch on Facebook and we'll get one of these out to you ASAP.
Yeah, you couldn't split the puns for a photo finish there. Genius. All right then, this week's photo is this one of Manuele Boaro. Remember, if you want to enter the caption competition, you just have to stick your entry in the comment section down below and we will pick a winner. Dan, just get things going, mate. Just give them an example, so a target to aim for.
Oh look, it's Manuele Koala. Boaro Koala.
Mate, that is that's pretty diabolical, actually.
Even by my standards.
Well, definitely by your standards. Even by my standards, that's quite bad.
Oh,
so,
yeah, it wasn't great, was it?
Yeah.
Leave your captions down below. Hopefully we'll get some good ones.
Camelback bottle, definitely up for grabs.
As per usual, before we get on to what is coming up on the channel this week, we are going to go through a few of our favourite comments from the last 7 days. Now, first up, we are going to be talking about our 650B video. This is the comment underneath that from Russell.
Filming that.
This video answers the question that we have all been asking for years. Why isn't Cy an artist? It well and truly answered that question, didn't it?
We had some fantastic comments under last week's show. Obviously, one of them was good enough that it sparked our whole train of thought for the entire week. But this one from Caffeine and Carbs. Sagan isn't the greatest cyclist of all time, but is one of the best, one of the most stylish and coolish, and probably the most likeable, which is interesting. But this one from Brett Wolf, it actually summed things up perfectly for us, didn't it? Sagan is an undeniably talented international pop star. He understands that his role is entertainer, not simply technical virtuoso. He sometimes does things that are not technically masterful or smart, i.e. trying to go solo for a win or going too early, but that are endlessly entertaining. And I think that's probably bang on, actually,
That is a very good summary of the whole thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, coming up on the channel this week, on Wednesday, we have 5 training myths exploded by someone that knows what they're talking about, Professor Louis Passfield. And on Thursday, we're looking at the top 5 iconic bike brands of all time. And on Friday, it's Ask GC Anything with a very special guest. Welcome back, Emma Pooley.
Absolutely, yeah. My sunglasses, I don't think are going to be in that video, are they?
Oh, what a shame.
Unfortunately, so just one highlight there. On Saturday, we have a training video up the Passo Falzarago in the Alpe region. That's a cracker, that one. And then on Sunday, we've got a little test. What type of cyclist are you? So find out what that entails on Sunday. And on Monday, it's of course the GCN Racing News Show. And then that means Tuesday is the GCN Show.
Yeah, episode 264.
Oh, and we're off on holidays this week.
Yes, Gran Canaria. Woohoo! Almost deserves another nerdy high five.
Come on, mate. Maybe an unironic fist bump. Boom. Oh, yeah. Exploding fist bump. Way cooler. It's time now for Extreme Corner, and this week, in sharp contrast to the Tour Down Under, we have Marcus Stockel tackling the notorious Strife ski run on ice. Apparently he hit 60 miles an hour. Check this out.
I wonder if that's one of those things that is a little bit harder to do in real life than it actually looks on that video.
Yeah, it must be quite disappointing, mustn't it, to risk life and limb and then finding actually, at the end of the day, it doesn't look very hard at all.
Yeah,
but
it's true that.
It was extreme, wasn't it, really?
It was. Very extreme indeed.
You're probably wondering what on earth we're doing sat with our coats on. It's not because the temperature's just dropped. In fact, it really hasn't. You should see the state of my armpits under it. But we wanted to bring to your attention the latest merchandise to have landed in the GCN shop. These are our winter coats with a nice synthetic Prima Loft filling. Very lightweight, incredibly hot, if I'm completely honest.
Yeah, you look a bit sweaty there, Si.
Yeah.
We've also got our Black Edition kit, the fan kit, back in stock too. So make sure you check that out on shop.globalcyclingnetwork.com, a link to which you can find on the screen right now. We hope you enjoyed this video today. We love the GCN Show, don't we? So hopefully you'll give it a thumbs up if you have too. And you might want to watch this next video where Cy and I investigate the new phenomenon that is 650B on road bikes.
That's right, epic gravel ride, wasn't it, mate?
Number 2.
Yeah, do make sure you check that one out. It's a good one.